This is the iPhone SE, a updated version of the original iPhone 5S, which was probably Apple's most popular design. But how does the iPhone SE stand with the iPhone 5S in terms of performance? Let's find out. Let's start with the build quality. Both phones feel very premium holding them in hand, but the iPhone SE is a little bit more durable than the iPhone 5S. Speaking in terms of design, both phones actually look quite identical. In fact, the only way you can differentiate an iPhone SE from an iPhone 5S would be the rose gold color, which I got right over here, or the small SE badge on the back panel. Getting in a little more detail, the iPhone SE has matte edges and a stainless steel logo that matches with the color of the iPhone. Looking at the front, both phones look identical. Both phones have first generation of Touch ID, which works fine, but the second gen is a little bit more faster and a little more accurate. For our camera, both phones have the same 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera. For our display, both phones have the same LCD panel 4-inch display, which is 1136 by 640 pixels. Performance-wise, I'll say both phones perform pretty good. The iPhone SE is noticeably faster than the iPhone 5S. It has an iPhone 6s processor, which is an Apple A9 chip, and where on the other hand, the iPhone 5S has an A7 processor. With the iPhone SE, we also see an upgraded RAM. The RAM is now 2GB, where it's 1GB on the iPhone 5S. And the upgraded RAM definitely helps. The phone is a lot faster. You're able to multitask pretty well. Even the latest iPhone 7s are still running on a 2GB RAM. So in terms of RAM, the iPhone SE is up to date. And because of that extra RAM, the iPhone SE is a little bit more smoother, and overall using the phones, there's less chances of you seeing the phone freeze or having to restart the phone because it's not working properly. Where on the iPhone 5S, I constantly have to restart the phone once or twice every week, and for most part, I end up closing out of every application on the iPhone 5S more often than on the iPhone SE. And in everyday use of the iPhone 5S, I'm more likely to see bugs and other issues than the iPhone SE. And these are things like where you sometimes miss a notification, or sometimes your phone is not on silent, but if someone's calling you or anything, your phone won't be vibrating, it won't be ringing, and you won't even know you received the call. But these are all software things. They usually go away after you clear your RAM or restart your phone. But it definitely is another thing you need to worry about. So in terms of that, the iPhone SE has the win. But other than that, performance wise, using the phone every day, it works pretty good. Loading applications is slightly faster on the iPhone SE, but once the app is up and running, you won't really feel a difference. Gaming works fine on both phones, but if you're playing some high intensive games, the iPhone SE is a little bit more smoother and a little bit high quality and a better experience overall. But in terms of Geekbench, the results are something like this. But as I said, in everyday use, both phones work just fine. Speaking in terms of camera, the iPhone SE has a 12 megapixel camera that can record in 4K 30 frames per second, where the iPhone 5S has an 8 megapixel camera that can only record in 1080p. So this is one big difference when coming from the iPhone 5S to the iPhone SE. First of all, you get 4K footage, which looks really good than the iPhone 5S 1080p footage. But generally speaking, the iPhone SE takes a lot better pictures than the iPhone 5S. And that's obvious because we have an upgraded camera on the iPhone SE. The pictures are a lot more sharper, there's more detail, but other than that, saturation, autofocus, and all of that is about the same on both phones. So really, if you're just uploading pictures on the internet, the iPhone SE or the iPhone 5S wouldn't really make a big difference, because wherever you upload your picture, they are going to end up compressing your pictures and videos anyways. In terms of Bluetooth, the iPhone SE has 4.2 where the iPhone 5S has 4.0. And moving on, another added feature with the iPhone SE is the integration of Apple Pay. So with the iPhone SE, you can add credit cards and debit cards to Apple Pay and make payments directly using your smartphone. And moving on, in terms of battery, the iPhone SE has a 1642 mAh battery where the iPhone 5S has a 1560 mAh battery. So technically the iPhone SE battery should last you longer, and based on my testing, it does last you a lot longer than the iPhone 5S battery. And that also has to do with how old the phone is. So let's say you're looking for a used phone, no matter if it's an SE or the 5S. The SE is most likely gonna be a year old, where if you go for an iPhone 5S, it can probably be 2 to 3 years old. So battery life could be a lot worse on the iPhone 5S compared to the iPhone SE. But the good thing is batteries aren't really that expensive to replace. If you find out your battery life is pretty bad, you can get a new battery for about $15 to $20 and it can be changed yourself. But yeah, at the end it all comes down to performance and price. The iPhone SE definitely performs faster than the iPhone 5s, but if you want to save a little bit of cash, you can definitely go for an iPhone 5s and it'll still perform really good. So really at the end, it all just comes down to what you're willing to spend and what your actual budget is. You spend a little bit more on the iPhone SE, it will last you a little bit longer and it will give you a little bit better performance than the iPhone 5s. Or you can go for the iPhone 5s, which is cheaper and a lot affordable than the iPhone SE. Where in that case, you'll be spending less today and you can save a little bit more money in the future and maybe get the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 8. But at the end, both phones perform really good. You get what you pay for. But if you're on a tight budget, the iPhone 5s is totally fine. Definitely don't fall for the cheap price tag. The iPhone 5s still performs really good. The only thing I would recommend is go for a higher model than the base storage, because with 16GB base storage, you're more likely to face problems and feel like a need to upgrade a lot faster than you should. So yeah guys, that was my opinion about the iPhone 5s and the iPhone SE. Let me know your thoughts about this in a comment down below and subscribe to Royal Tech if you haven't already. And as always, thanks for watching.